Hi, it's Kendra Devlin, and I am your ministry launch strategist. And we are here for our Stop Running from Online Ministry series. And we have our video, Your Wounds. Our lesson for today, your wounds are delaying your online ministry. And so what's currently happening right now in your life is you are vilifying other people that have wounded you in your past. You're replaying the things that happen in your life. And as you're replaying them, you're not only replaying what happened, you're adding and you're cultivating new stories as to what you didn't do, what you should have done, what should have happened. And all of a sudden now what happened over here becomes this full-blown thing that never really was. But y'all know, as we foster any thought, we make it way bigger, even if it was detrimental. We make it bigger and even more different, and we cultivate lies and we change stuff up. But is that what God wants us to do? Because I believe God called us to forgive others so that He can forgive us. But we're vilifying, we're replaying everything that happened. How could they do that? They should have known better. And a lot of times we do the exact same things, but we don't understand the gravity of when we do it because it's me. But if somebody else does it, they should have known better. But this continues to play back in your head, but the real issue is your pride. Your real issue isn't them, because God's already told you in the scriptures how to deal with them. You go to your brother alone. If you have an ought with them or they have an ought with you, you go to them alone. But here you are replaying and vilifying, which probably means you're slandering. It's very rare to vilify somebody in your mind and not talk about it to somebody. If it continues to loop around in your head and is stopping you from doing what God has called you to do. But you think you do better. You think you know better, right? And then malice in your heart starts to cultivate and you just want to get back. And so the very things that God has called you to, it's hard for you to focus on them because you are replaying all of these other thoughts in your head. So when we see in the Bible, when it comes to how this connects to you running, you spend your time on the things that God has not called you to, and then it spills into the ministry. It spills into the way you think about people, how you see people. You can't have a certain thought about how things should go, and it's totally different. It doesn't spill out with people as you talk with them. We know the story, I believe it's in Matthew, about the big debt and the small debt. The master releases a servant from his debt, but then that servant goes back to somebody else who has a smaller debt. And I believe when the last time I looked at it, it was like the smaller debt was 6,000 and then the bigger debt was anywhere between 12 million and $1 billion. Like your debt to God, what he was basically saying was your debt to me is somewhere between 12 million to $1 billion. And here you are over here, somebody else has $6,000 worth of debt to you. And you over here strangling them and throwing them into jail when I just released you from your debt. Isn't that amazing how we can be so wicked? As he says in the parable, like as he says in the actual parable, he says, this man was wicked because he would not forgive the debt of his fellow servant. While God himself said, you have done way more against me, and I have literally wiped that off. How can we live in a space where we won't forgive others, where we have this malice and all of that, and yet we think God is going to bless us? But it's going to stop you from online ministry because you are looping these things in your head. So how can you fully get started with what God is calling you to do? How can you fully get going on what He wants you to do? And when you do, all you do will spoil it because you'll be online talking about the person in your somewhat righteous indignation when you're really just being prideful. And so you really ain't leading anybody to where God wants you to lead them to. You lead them to the wrong spot. He says, I'm calling you to set people free and help them over here. I'm calling you to be a speaker. I'm calling you to be an author. I'm calling you to the entrepreneur space. I want you to be the marketplace, the Christian in marketplace ministry. And here you are, still looping this underlying story and the things that have happened to you in your head, God's not going to be able to get the glory. So imagine today if you could live free from your wounds. Imagine if you said, God, I'm going to forgive them. And I'm going to talk to the people that wounded me, the people that I need to talk to. And maybe even in the process, those that I have wounded myself. What would happen if you today started to live free and those thoughts that were cultivated in your head left? What would happen? Tell me in the comment section what would happen. Let me know what you think, how your life would change, how you could be doing actually what God had called you to do if you just let go of the things that God has already said, I've forgiven you for, and I forgive them. Just imagine. Because at this point, your wounds are delaying your online ministry. These lingering effects of your story are delaying you from doing what God has called you to do. It's time to get rid of those things of the past so that you can live for God today and do what He's called you to do. And go ahead and stop running from ministry today, because tomorrow is too late to be great.